Politically, it's been a crazy year.
You think?
What is your outlook on the election?
Red for the hills! Hi! Bury your head in the sand. No, what is the outlook? Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching this, seeing a guest go through meltdown is not a good thing. So I won't do it.
Okay.
But I'm close, real close. Gosh, how do I answer that question? Well, for starters, I'm going to voice a Criswell-like prophecy here, and I could very well be wrong, and I've got that caveat straight out. I think Mr. Trump is going to win the election.
Really?
Yeah, I do. The reason why is that Mrs. Clinton represents more of the same. And with every shooting in Orlando and the president reacting insanely, with every government forced integration of children's bathrooms, with every legal decision like the one up in Canada, though it doesn't directly apply to us, legalizing sorts of bestiality, with all of this stuff, every time that happens, it's almost as though the regime was saying, vote for Trump. But they're so deaf and so blind that they will not see what they're doing to their populace. And they don't care anyway, so it's all right. Mrs. Trump represents a vote for more of the same. Not Mrs. Trump, sorry, Mrs. Clinton. I don't know what a vote for her would represent, but a vote for Mrs. Clinton represents a vote for more of the same. A vote for Trump represents a vote for the unknown. And so normally you say, better the devil you know, but sometimes that reaches an unpleasant conclusion. Also, I have to say that my saying I think he's going to win doesn't necessarily mean I endorse it.
Right.
He's a very mercurial character. You can project on him whatever you want to. And in this area, I think he's a lot like FDR.
How is that?
Well, FDR was, again, someone you could paint any way you wanted him. He was very situational. That is to say, he didn't really have an agenda, except being in power, of course. And he would react to things however they came up. If you were to ask President Roosevelt, well, how would you react to this and that, he wouldn't be able to tell you until it happened. And I suspect, though I could be wrong, I suspect it's the same with Mr. Trump. I think that if he is elected president, it will be unpredictable. Now, he has done some things which, and I'm not talking about the wild things he says and this and that. I'm talking about the specific things, for instance, telling us in advance whom he would propose as judges.
Right.
That's a smart move. And if he keeps to it, the appointment of the Supreme Court justices is a huge part of, given the power that the Supreme Court has nabbed for itself over the past century and more, that's a very key thing. So for that alone, by doing that, and especially if he keeps his promises in that regard, that's going to attract a lot of people. There's the thing, well, he turns off minorities. Does he? Part of the problem that we have in facing this is that, number one, few people would admit they'd vote for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, a lot of our minorities, like the Latinos and the blacks, respect strong men. And whatever else you say about Mrs. Clinton, she's not a man.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that Trump's following amongst the minorities is going to be a lot bigger than anyone thinks. And I also suspect that if those who don't vote for him are likely to stay home than to vote for Mrs. Clinton. I think if Mrs. Clinton wins, it would be an utter disaster. I mean, the lady is absolutely dedicated to Planned Parenthood. And if the history of Planned Parenthood were made known to blacks and Latinos and other minority groups, they would realize that they are supporting a way of thought, a way of thinking that hates them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a good deal of their leadership has sort of been bought out. So it's hard to say, but if Mrs. Clinton does win, I won't be terribly surprised. I won't be terribly horrified either. If Mr. Trump wins, I won't be surprised. I won't be horrified.
Okay.
In a certain sense, and again, I hate being Debbie Downer, but why would it be other than this? You see, what no one is asking in this question, everyone's, well, I love Trump, I love Hillary, or I hate Trump, I hate Hillary,
right.
Fine. Why is it these are the only two we've got? Why is it, after 240 years, this is what we have? What is it about our national character? What is it about the United States of America that produces this? Why are we in the position of having to vote for either death or the wild card? Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, no. There are answers, but we have to ask the questions, and we don't. One of the things about us as Americans is that we're very smug people. We presume we're wonderful, and we never question anything. We never look back and think, gee, look, for instance, at the ongoing war on Confederate symbols. Let me tell you something. This is not about righting past wrongs. You know how I know? I'll tell you how I know. In 1913, they had the 50-year reunion at Gettysburg. And they had all these old men, old veterans, who really been there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And these old Confederates relived Pickett's charge. And these old Union folk were waiting for them. But not 50 years later with rifles, with open arms. They hugged them. And I don't know how to put this to you, but America in 1913 was not a huggy place. They weren't getting in touch with their feelings, giving each other input and feedback. No, they weren't like that. That was how the combatants of that war were. No other country on earth with a civil war that bloody, that bitter, could have been reconciled to such a degree only 50 years later. I'm old enough to remember the closing years of the Civil War centennial, because I was born when it began in 1960. And what was it all about? It was all about the bravery on both sides and the national reconciliation. Something no other country on earth could have achieved. And I am not an American exceptionalist. I am not a Yankee Doodle Dandy. But that is an accomplishment that no one can take away from us, like inventing the cocktail. So, what do I see now? Those old wounds being ripped open. And for what? For what? It's not about righting past wrongs, because those people got over it. The people who actually went through it got over it. I'll tell you what it's about. It is about our elites, our ownership, our regime, whatever you want to call our masters. It is about them trying to demoralize and punish a section of the country that's not going along with the program quickly enough. It's about power and control. And I'll tell you, some of this stuff, when the city council of Memphis, Tennessee, voted to pull General Forrest and his wife out of their tombs. Now, they couldn't do it, actually. It was two Latin words that everybody in charge of church and state should get tattooed on them somewhere, anywhere, far anywhere else. Ultra vires, beyond your power. You can't do that, little man. I would love to see them all tattooed with that. But anyway, the city council votes to do this. And I was asked at the time when I thought of it, I said, I'd be in favor of it if they were made to eat the corpses on television. Well, it'd be going along. You know how popular The Walking Dead is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I would. Seeing the city council eat 100-year-old corpses. And think of the ratings. It'd be on all three networks. Would beat out the party conventions.
That's true.
So, at any rate, seriously, it is a mess. It is absolutely miserable. 8 years ago, Barack Obama promised hope and change. Now, what are you hoping for? Change. What will the change bring? Hope. Will that hope bring change? Will that change bring hope? Okay, we did that. In a weird way, Trump mirrors that. We don't know what Trump is going to bring us any more than we knew what Barack would bring us. If you believe Barack, he didn't have an agenda. This whole gay marriage thing, which is so popular with him, and which Mr. Justice Kennedy, the good Irish Catholic, really gave us. We don't know what we're going to get. But if we know what we're going to get with Hillary, we don't know what we're going to get with Trump. If I were to summarize the politics of this nation in this year, 2 words: big mess.